Wolverine's Revenge. I wonder why. When this game was released back in 2003, the reception was underwhelming. IGN gave it a 6.5, proclaiming, "If you find this later on in life on some store shelves for $10 or even, go for it. But at full price, you'll be the one screaming, Rah!" Meanwhile, GameSpot gave it a 5.8, stating, "It's certainly not the worst X-Men licensed game, but Wolverine's Revenge is a game that only the biggest fans of the comics could love." How can a Wolverine title be so mediocre? He's one of the most revered characters of the X-Men universe, and has appeared in such beloved gaming franchises. So what gives? For someone who's supposed to be the literal embodiment of its animal counterpart, surely there must be a great premise somewhere, and that is where we start off with. Interestingly, this has nothing to do with the film whatsoever. Yeah, because despite having the X2 in the title, it's a completely different continuity that's actually more in line with the comics. It opens up as an origin story with Logan's adamantium procedure taking place in the Weapon X program. When he breaks out to catch the scientist that did it, turns out that he also contracted a deadly virus known as the Shiva strain. Cut to present day, and Beast warns him that it can kill him in 48 hours, bypassing his healing factor. With this in mind, he embarks on a quest to find an antidote while confronting his murky past. Given that Wolverine is basically on a time limit, it's fascinating to behold. Characters like Colossus and Professor X will assist him along the way, and he has to deal with an array of X-Men villains halting his progression. Definitely the main highlight. The only downside is that, spoiler alert, it ends on a cliffhanger, leaving Wolverine's Revenge unresolved. Quite literally. Which begs the question, with a sequel looking far too gone, can Logan's slashing abilities hold up? The action consists of two types, combat and stealth. When Wolverine engages in battle, he'll lock onto a single enemy using his claws, fists, or kicks. It all boils down to mindless button mashing, making the fights feel rather sluggish. It's particularly pitiful when dozens, if not multiples, overwhelm the hell out of him, and once they do, his fellow rage meter will fill up, giving you the ability to temporarily roar your way for instant kills. So no, Wolverine can't decapitate anyone, and although blood is visible, it's mildly faint to say the least. Even so, you can perform these strike moves that can eliminate up to 4 opponents at once. It's satisfying as Logan will initiate different executions at each given turn, which is why being sneaky plays a critical role. The game encourages you to retract Wolverine's claws because not only will he heal his health bar, albeit slow, but also take advantage of the stealth mechanics. In doing so, each takedown will reward you dog tags for more strike combinations. The levels are practically designed for you to take cover, whether by means of crouching or the typical lean against walls. In fact, some later segments require Wolverine to
stay low, stay quiet, stay alive.
As a kid, this was as far as I got. No kidding. If you're spotted within a second, it's an instant mission failed. Since Wolverine is basically a hunter, he can trigger his thermal vision for tactical advantages. Dubbed as heightened senses, he can detect a wide range of enemy placements such as their scent, footprints, and hidden weapons like mines and laser turrets. If you're not a fan of this setup, then Wolverine's Revenge will sorely disappoint you because both the combat and stealth leaves a lot to be desired. It's literally not long after until you see the same special attacks over and over again. Enemies aren't better either since most of them shared similar tendencies. They're predictable and dumb as a brick. You can disarm their weapons only for them to never pick it up again. All bets are off when they employ no strategies with their otherwise monotonous movesets. That's how brain dead the AI is, so clearly there's a pattern going on. Boss fights, at the very least, feel different than one another. Timing your attacks combined with patience is how you will conquer these battles. It is both challenging and frustrating simultaneously. Truth to be told, that's the best way I can sum up Wolverine's Revenge. That might seem appropriate given Logan's hectic adventure, but for the average gamers, this can drive them crazy, and not in a good way. Just imagine listening to the madness. Does this sound fitting? But that pales in comparison when Wolverine yells in agony from explosives. There's no subtle variations. It's the same exact over and over and over and over and like, damn man, shut the f up. At least the voice acting is great though. Despite being a movie tie-in, Wolverine is actually played by Mark Hamill, who does a phenomenal interpretation, nailing the character's attitude.
Here comes a real classic. This one I like.
It's quiet. Too quiet.
I love the classics.
Meanwhile, Patrick Stewart reprises his role as Professor X, who, unsurprisingly, gives a solid performance. I do like how in the extras menu he lends his voiceover for narrating character descriptions.
Known as En-Saba-Nur in a time before the pyramids were first built in Egypt, Apocalypse is the first of our kind, and self-proclaimed High Lord of all mutants.
You, sir, are magnificent. Speaking of extras, these cerebral files act as character logs summarizing their history. The comic book covers, on the other hand, serves as alternate costumes for Wolverine based on past issues and continuity. It's cool seeing these additions implemented, but again, they're merely cosmetics. All these collectibles can be found in isolated areas on certain levels, if you look hard enough. Aside from that, there's concept artworks and the 3 dog tag challenges. The bronze consists of destroying these flashing crates from their intended order, and the last 2 are just pure stealth. Eliminating all enemies in under 4 minutes will take trial and error, because if you get caught, then it's game over. Being cautious is the name of the game here, and assuming you can get the upper hand, it's all about timing your moves as fast as possible. So what happens when you complete all 3 of them? You unlock 3 outtakes, the last of which Spider-Man makes a brief cameo. It's actually not bad.
Well, amongst other things. If you want to help, deal with this chaos till damage control gets here.
Yeah, sure.
I gotta be a dick.
And that is what this game has to offer. As a pre-Arkham game, X-Men 2 Wolverine's Revenge had potential. It deviated from the source material by telling an original story and adding its own style. But because they decided to tie in with the film's release, its shallow combat, context-sensitive stealth mechanics combined with some difficulty spikes, all pile up to create a polarizing experience. The infuriating segments can easily make for some rage-quit moments, and when the gameplay does hint at variety, it becomes repetitive in less than 10 minutes. No wonder I never beat this game as a kid, and that is saying something. It's a good thing that Wolverine will get his proper treatment 6 years later. There's definitely better options for the titular character, my go-to being the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Wolverine's Revenge should have been more visceral than it sounds, but instead, it cut corners to salvage a deadline that was meant to be.